I'm sure you've heard me talk about it every time. You probably have also seen my video on Instagram where I'm talking about how to put structure in your business. It is, I cannot say it enough.
People don't buy products, they don't buy services, they buy relationships.
The reason is because there's a million and one tech people training people, right? And in fact, one of the things that differentiates us is that we don't teach anybody anything.
Uncertain times, I'll see it as the period where there are economic hardship and challenges.
So uncertain times are times where there is unpredictability, but also uncertain times are times where you are not sure what will be the outcome of what you do.
So uncertain times is tomorrow. It is the next 10 minutes. In fact, it is the next 60 seconds. It's uncertain. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So the idea is lack of awareness of what's going to happen. And then it becomes uncertain. I'm also trying to say that it's a necessary design to arrest our curiosity and to unlock our creativity. So it's important to have uncertainty in life. Thank you.
You can't plan enough. That is why you need to. I'm very fascinated with the architecture in China, and one of the things I discovered is China has some sort of bridge designs that allow for the bridges to rest on the tension that the water creates. And they created that bridge because the bridge structure you can't do a foundation under the water. So they had to come up with a different design for that particular bridge. So that bridge functions with the tension of the water. So you see cars going on the bridge and the bridge is sort of shaking, but the bridge is not going to collapse. That is the way I think a startup founder should plan, right? Have a concrete plan. What do I want to become in the next 5 years? So this is like my mission for 5 years. Then plan step-by-step strategies. This is what I will do in year 1, year 2, year 3. Then month 1, this will be key things that I need to achieve. But at the back of your mind, you also need to create some contingency. In case this fails, then this is what I'm going to do next. And like one of my mentors used to say, there's also that element of the luck, the gift of God, maybe it's grace, whatever you choose to believe, just pray and hope that that works out. But as soon as the punch lands on your face like Mike Tyson's punch and you realize that the plan has changed, you need to have that adaptability that will enable you to take fast actions. Because sometimes because you've invested a lot in, say, I'm building one app to give Nigerians a certain kind of experience. And let's say 2 weeks before the launch, I realized that Microsoft or Google is announcing a feature on their platform that is my entire startup plan, right? Immediately you see that announcement, what would define you as a survivor is to be able to look at the next thing. What is the next action right now and start working on it. Sometimes you may have sentiment because of how much you've invested in building what you already have. You need to be able to throw everything in the dustbin at that moment and start working on something else. So the first thing I said is plan. Have long-term, short-term plan. Or 2, have flexibility, have contingencies around in case 1 or 2 things happen. And number 3, there might be sometimes that the entire plan will fall, right? Have enough peace to regret what has happened, drink about it, cry, go to bed, wake up the next morning, and start a new course of action altogether. With enough agility that will not make you drag. How do I describe it? If you carry a lot of baggages, emotional baggages, you might not be able to make that decision. So it might be your team members, co-founders. You need to be able to know when to let off some people, some things, and start running immediately. So those are my 3 key points.
From my own perspective, I'm also going to add that the most powerful tool that I have been using that has been working for me so far is relationships. Yeah. Generally, I literally slept because of how the whole ecosystem is right now and how everybody's behaving with money and all that. Well, which I'm happy about because like The founder of OpenAI now said it wants $4 trillion, and they will definitely give it to him. So it means that they will bring all their money out again. But as of last year, where all the investors are keeping their money away, and it was telling like the ripple effect cut across a lot of people into layoff and whatnot. I'm like, as I go into 2024, I want to actively build a few products here, and I have 2 products at that stage, and I didn't pay anybody. Yeah, we have 2 products that had been built in just a month, and nobody was paid anything for their service, and that was because of the relationship I have with these people. Yeah, I woke up, I called my friends, I said, this is what I want to build. We need to work on this together. I sold it to them, and so it's different from, I get it a lot too, as I'm trying not to spend too much time to talk about this. Every one of us would have gotten DMs where random person says, bro, I have this fantastic idea. I know you're a product designer, come and work for me, I will pay you equity. It's not gonna work yet, but if you have these people as your friend already, it is easy to get them on board. I've built about 4 products. 1 is dead, 3 of them are currently running. And everybody that had helped me, everybody that were working on this product continuously, nobody's getting paid for it. And it's because of established friendship that I had across the time. So I would recommend that, because I believe that a lot of us here are like trying to start out, like these guys with 7-10 years of products that are currently running. I would assume that most of us seated across, like facing us right now, are just about to start. And it's going to cost you a lot of money to get things to run before it gets to a point where people would value your product and say, okay, I have $5,000, I have $10,000, or $100,000 to invest in your business. You want to be able to reduce your burn rate to the point that you can survive for years. So I recommend that you build relationship with people that are going to help you. So you have to test it a lot. So from my point of view, I'm not going to answer as a founder. I'm going to answer like the creative designer that wants to help you from ideation to an actual existing product. You have to test it a lot. The 4th thing I would have built, but we're not building it again. It's called an escrow system. So when I got the idea for the product, all I thought about is kill payment on delivery. Yeah, that's like the whole point of the product, kill payment on delivery. Because people tend to not trust each other. That's why they say that when you bring my product, I'm going to pay you because it might be a stupid product and all that. So imagine you get them to drop their money somewhere. When you confirm your product, you're going to give it to them. But then I made research on other people that are currently building escrow. I saw that about 3 Nigerian products, they are all struggling. I don't have the bandwidth to join them and struggle. So I decided not to go ahead to build it. But apparently a friend of mine is currently doing the same thing. I saw his video and I'm like, bro, this is literally what I thought of. Yeah, it's called middleman. They're literally trying to solve like this escrow thing. And there's one more thing that I had that I was going to explore later on. I go on the call with him and I shared it with him that I'm not doing this anymore. You can go ahead to do it. So one thing that you need to do is stress test your idea here. So it's as simple as asking yourself, what's the value out of this product? Like, okay, you want to do this. What exactly is going to be the value to people? And as a product, you want to make money at the long run. Maybe your long-term goal is like maybe in 5 years, that's when you actually want to make money. What is your monetization strategy? Yeah, because you cannot run on charity forever. There are investors that give you grants, but I don't think only running on grant as a business is sufficient enough for you to continually have that passion to keep building. You need money. So when we stress test that this is a viable product and can actually run, the important thing is to draft out what the MVP is. So a lot of times people have crazy amount of features that they want to have in their product, but because speed is important, because you are not the only one that God has blessed with that idea. Yeah, you want to get to the market first. Like you need to get to the market as fast as possible. So you need to like write out all the things that, okay, these are all the things that we want the product to have, or what do we need to have right now for it to be an actual product in the market. I'm going to give an example. How many of us play games here like FIFA, Call of Duty or anything, or even, yeah. So there are some games that, okay, like Grand Theft Auto now, you can go into the wardrobe and change his cap, change his glasses, change his shoes, separate clothes. But there are some games that you play, you can only change the whole outfit. Yeah? So imagine you playing those games where you want to change your character's outfit and you can only say select this full outfit or this full outfit. And then you start saying that, man, but in Grand Theft, I can just change the glasses and leave this. You are complaining about something that you don't like about the product. But you will play that game. Yeah? Because it is you don't like the fact that you couldn't change certain part of the clothes. But would that be a problem for you if you want to play the game? So those are needs or like desires by the users, but that does not remove from the fact of functionality. Second example is WhatsApp. If you are here and you've never complained about WhatsApp being a stupid, stressful platform, raise your hand. You have never complained. And you're an outlier. Nice to meet you. But like a lot of times we do complain about why did they update their status, why did they do this, why is it hanging on iOS and all that. But the core need for you using your WhatsApp is to send a message. And when somebody sends you a message, you receive it. If these things can work, like strip it down to the littlest of feature that you need to get into the market. Once you have that now, and then people are starting to like test your product, giving you feedback, you can update the feedback and then also add nice to have, you know. So these are like the things that you go into product to stress yourself on, so that when it finally gets out there, people can actually experience your product without having to say, I have a better. Last example before I give you the mic. People keep building calendar apps. Today there's Scrum. Last month they announced Amy. Yeah, with all this fancy calendar app, you would use Google Calendar. You would use it. There are a lot of features in Google Calendar that we don't even explore. We use it for the core reason, which is to like schedule meetings, put things in place, reminder events, because at the core of whatever your complaint is about aesthetics. I'm a product designer, I should be saying that things should really be beautiful. Yeah, but I've seen people operate millions of dollars and their products are ugly. Yeah, first things first, aesthetics is nice to have, but as a product designer, as an owner, as an aspiring founder, you need to get your functional product as streamlined as possible to the need to have for it to go into production. Thank you.
I was going to ask a question about how do you attain an MVP, but you literally took that question out of your mouth. Thank you very much for that. But while you were speaking, you mentioned something that leads me to my next question, and I would like for Mr. Andy here to take that up. So he said something about building relationships with people and how a couple of products he has built were based off these relationships. Now, how do you navigate the balance between innovation and practicality when you're refining your startup ideas, putting in context that you're excited for your product, you want to work with your friends or with people that you've established relationships with on this product, and you know, like you said, you can't call them up, hi, hello, this is my idea, let's do this.
Well, there has to definitely be a balance, because relationships sometimes can blind very, like, you see it clearly, it's visible enough that this may go wrong at some point, but because you want to maintain a relationship, you keep it going, and then at the end it could possibly lead to a fallout, or the entire business goes out of stock. So coming from the perspective of a lawyer, there are certain mechanisms that are in place to ensure that everyone is protected and the relationship is still preserved. Innovation, and then having to ensure that you're still practical in your approach, even when it comes to association and relationships. For instance, the setting whereby there are founders and co-founders involved, there is the legal instrument of founders agreements, whereby you are able to, as co-founders, you have the hard talk session, and then you are able to deliberate on your duties, on your roles, and what everyone is bringing on board, and then how you are able to compensate each other at the end of the day, coming from the point of the equity vesting schedule, which is very important in every founder's agreement. So that is in place to ensure that even though we have a relationship and it's budding, we still know what we want and we have everything in place. So the fact that I'm your brother or your friend, it doesn't still bring, I will not be compensated, because that can come up at the end of the day. So you would have to have that conversation, and then you people will come to an agreement that at a particular period of time, which is known as vesting, you are able to keep the shares, the equity shares in place to ensure that everyone is still on ground. And if you want to leave at some point before the agreed period, you can go. But then the stock of the company is still in place, the stock is still preserved. So founders agreement is very important.
You don't start with an idea and try to build a product. You start from the problem and then you develop that into an idea. When people tell me, Vio, I have an idea, I just laugh. That's an idea can jump into your head, but it must work backwards to do what we call idea problem fit. The idea must fit into an existing problem. Else, it's just going to be born out of passion. And you know, customers don't buy on passion. Customers don't buy ideas. Customers don't buy products. They buy problems. They buy solution to their problems. And that's why most founders are building vitamins instead of painkillers. I mean, would you rather have a painkiller, or, I mean, how many of us are taking vitamin C? Yes, say vitamin C. You know, it has a few. But if your head is banging, right, you go for a paracetamol because you want the pain to go away. And being in Nigeria, we are so curative oriented, right? We are not preventive oriented. So nobody's interested in any future. That's why if you're talking about AI, Web 4, Web 7, you are joking in Nigeria. We've not even solved the hunger problem. You're talking about AI. You are a joke, right? You are dreaming big. It's not for here. You need to solve hunger, transportation. I can't even move. There's traffic. Your AI, you're talking about AI, there's traffic. Right? So there's a lot. Now, let me come to the question, which is, how do you build a UVP, which is a unique value proposition? Now, if you begin with an idea, it's very likely that you never have a solid UVP. So you begin with a problem. So what problems exist in that sector? Second question. When I mean players, who are those already solving that problem? And I always tell these founders, don't say, oh, I am the Africa's foremost. Leave those things. Foremost doesn't increase the dollars in the bank account. And ask yourself, am I being foolish? Why hasn't somebody solved this problem? Is it that some people are so foolish they haven't seen the problem? Alright, YC will call it tap it ideas. Who are those solving that problem? And then the final question, how are they solving the problem? If there are loopholes, those loopholes become your UVP. So UVP is not something you just sit down and go and say, Google, what's my UVP? Or oh, let me just create a massive, you don't need that. It's in the markets. The voice of the markets is the UVP, not what you think is a UVP. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Mr. David is my friend, Mr. Victor is my friend, oh, Orez is my guy, and I'm like, I call them up, we want to build something. We do that before considering, or rather, I shouldn't do that before considering to get this license to operate. I mean, I'm excited about my new product.
You have to be calm, because as was mentioned earlier, emotions can really play a big turn on you, and a lot of founders and business owners have regretted this sort of action. So you have to ensure that everyone has their head in this game, in this idea, and that we've agreed that there are certain terms and conditions that we will be working with to ensure that the relationship is healthy and that we are moving forward together. And if it's that you actually start before you go on the legal space to ensure that you are legally protected, the fact is that when things go wrong, you don't have a legal structure in place, so it can be very bad at that point. So it's good that, yeah, even though you have your ideas and you're coming together, the ginger is there, everyone is expecting to start this off, but then you need to have legal advice, you need to have legal guidance, and for one, Barinada Legal as well does that because we deal basically with the startup space.
Before starting, so I wanted to, what are some examples of all this in place, because depending on the industry, the aspiring founders or founders actually aiming to get into.
Thank you very much. Your idea is a very good one. Education based, right? Okay. For the financial institutions that would basically deal with what you are bringing on board, you first start with, that is the basis, which is the FIRS, Federal Inland Revenue Service. So that's after you've registered your company. And then afterwards, you would want to check in with SCOMO, which is Special Controls Units Against Money Laundering. Yeah, to ensure that you've registered with them, because SCOMO ensures that non-financial institutions are not a hub for money laundering. So you have to ensure that you've registered with them as well. Yeah. Okay, so that's like the basic one you can start with first. Yeah, because you are education based.
What is the highest or the low that you can give employees?
Always best, because founders are very funny. You meet yourself at a tech about event, you hug yourself, say, I felt a connection. Say, oh boy, after 2 weeks, I always say do 90 days speed dating. You must do speed dating. You work on something for 90 days, you understand their intricacies, you understand their work dynamics. You cannot know a person from just an excitement, even at this kind of event, right? Everybody's excited. Oh, I love what you're working on. Let's crush, let's do this. After 2 months, they would have given up, or they may have given up. So it's good to invest so that once they give up, you're fine. You see, and everybody's.
I always love discussions about equity. Like, I feel like if I don't say something, I will not feel alright today. First, I would say think about equity as a meat pie, and don't think about it as something you have to finish up in the immediate, like right now, we need to share it. And always don't think about equity in terms of equality.
100% of nothing is nothing. 1% of 100 is something. Right, so at the end of the day, that 60% in 2 years can become 5% for that person, while you get 95%. It's a thing of strategy. So before you have the conversation of equity, in as much as it might not sound legal, in code it is very legal. So always get the legal advice over your side for that. Thank you very much. All right, so with this whole conversation of building in uncertain times, I do understand that one of the most important things that founders and startups need to put in place or know how to do is how to adapt, right? Because once there's a change, you need to find a way to go with that change. It's either you go with the change or the change takes you and you go with it. right? So in the conversation of adaptability, I'm going to send it direct this question to Mr. David. You have built, or rather, you have co-founded TechNext for 6 years now. That's very impressive, right? So over 6 years, what were those things that you put in place to build resilience and adaptability as part of your company culture? What are those company cultures that should be put in place, right? And how were you able to execute on that?
Okay, so the first thing is the culture of, where do I start from? First is the culture of strategy. So I was just checking through my Google Pictures, which then I realized that when we started TechNext, so the first thing is I had a meeting with a couple of my friends and I shared this beautiful idea, and some people bought into it. For some reasons, I identified people who have key interests and some capabilities, and I made them co-founders. So we are 3. And I remember that we had the first meeting at Ozone. It was under a staircase where the university had office. The first culture that we instituted from day one is strategic planning. Because really, you're not going to go to a place that you cannot imagine, right? You need to be able to imagine what the future is going to look like, then the future will look like that. And every year we meet every October, maybe between 1st and 3rd, and we reassess the past year. If we're going to be at point X in 10 years and we've spent 6 years, are we closer to where we wanted to be? What are the things that we need to change at this moment to get us to where we are going to? So the first is the culture of strategy. The second is the culture of transparency. Everybody has weaknesses, right? I'm not a very perfect person, and I was just having a conversation with Alex where I said I'm a very cool communications person. I know how to write and communicate something the way I want it done, and everybody will see the picture. So if you check out our events, you see that they are colorful, big, we do a fantastic branding, and that's because those are my strengths. And I realized that I'm not a very good salesperson. So I'm very honest and open about it. And the co-founders that are responsible for that function, they know. So when we're talking about communication, strategy, and all of that, I lead. But when it comes to this other part that I'm not very strong, I allow other people to lead. And every week when we discuss the business performance, we are very open with the numbers. This is how much we've sold in the past 1 week. This is how much we've spent. This is our financial status. So when we first had the first crisis, 2020 during COVID, we just realized that a lot of companies that had even made promises, people that we had issued invoices to 8 million, 5 million, all of a sudden they are not able to meet up with that obligation. Some companies are even shut down. So how do you hold the founder that the company is no longer existing to pay you for the service that you subscribed for? So we have to call a meeting. This is our to fire X number of people. On the alternative, we can reduce our salaries by this X percentage, and everybody will be able to survive to the end of the year. Guys, what should we do? And everybody took a vote. So you typically not see a TechNext team member coming on Twitter to say we are owing these salaries, because we all know why we are here, and this is what we are doing to get out of the position. And at the point when COVID was over, and we were able to bounce back in 2021. Everybody saw it. So when we need to pay bonuses for those years that we had those reductions, we pay the bonuses. Next conversation. This is where we are, and we can't go further than this. So even when I want to lay people off, I make it a culture to have a one-on-one conversation. This is not your fault exactly. I hired you. Maybe I was unable to inspire you enough, or maybe I did not do the hiring process properly. Whatever it is, everybody have their identical, very unique cases. We have that conversation and we are honest about it. What could I have done better? What would you want me to do next time? And you also tell me what you think your fault is and what I could do better too if you were to come back to this organization. And one of the things I'm proud of is usually when people leave organization, it's always in bad taste. But of all the people that have left TechNext, I know that we have almost like 30% return rate. At some point when I'm able to afford your services back, let's say you're laid off because we can no longer afford you. Each time when I reach out to such people and call them back, even if they do work with us fully, they're able to work with us part-time. And the last one is the point of kindness. I've come to realize that a lot of Nigerians don't function well if you are not very harsh with them. for some reason, I don't know why. So it's something I also experience in the corporate space. When you see the bosses coming, you're shaking, you're running, and all of that. And I see people function very well, but I don't function in that kind of environment. So I made it a part of my plan that if I'm going to have an organization where I lead, everybody will be able to express themselves, and I will listen to your ideas, even if they are very stupid and all of that. So typically when you enter our meeting rooms and we are discussing, let's say we're planning our conference for this year, and we're discussing the ideas, everybody will sample their thoughts. Even if your thought is stupid, we will note it, right? We might eventually not do it. So what that has done is we've had the best ideas from very unlikely places, and some of your biggest directors might not be thinking as much as those people do. The other things are when things are going to fail, the people that are usually in the dark in your organization see it first. You might not know. Yeah, you might be so engrossed with one idea, you are so lightened up by what you're doing that you might not realize the faults in what you're running on. But somebody that is not very close to the action point, maybe someone that is just an intern that is observing what you're doing, might be able to tell you if this happens, this will happen, and all of that. So because we have that culture of transparency, even if you tell me that my idea is stupid, I'm not going to query you or fire you for it. It allows everybody to say whatever they want to say, and we've been saved a lot because somebody that is very low in the team has seen a problem and is able to work on it. And the last part for me is the culture of excellence. So when it comes to resilience, one of the reasons a lot of organizations die is oftentimes when you have cash flow, you're able to sell, buy, sell. Either you're having significant margins notwithstanding, you might not really know that you have a lot of problems until the cash stops coming in. That is when some people can honestly tell you the truth. That is when you really know who your friends are. It's a big problem when you're running like that, because the day you're going to crash, you're going to crash significantly. So what I've realized is it becomes very difficult to keep up with the culture of excellence, especially when you're delegating to other managers. And one of the things that we have done at TechNext is, first of all, I will tell you what my vision is or what our vision is. We delegate specific activities. Processes for a lot of startup founders are not big key things. A lot of people are interested in raising money and all of that. But for me, process is very important. So even if I'm not doing something on a large scale and I'm able to get it very well, by the time I get the funding to be able to scale that activity, then I'm scaling success at a very massive rate. So I'm very interested in who does what and at what time and all of that. So I assign as activities to people specifically, and I ensure that we deliver those activities. Even when I've worked in organizations where we've raised over $10 million and we have over 650 staff across Africa, one of the things that come to play when we have challenging times is you see a lot of redundancies. All of a sudden, the organization begins to realize who is very crucial to the process and who is not. So I would always advise that from the beginning, identify what's crucial to your business. Some of us invest a lot in bells and whistles, right? You have a lot of futures, fine things, office parties, eat chicken, go to the beach, and all of that. You forget what is critical to your business. But once you've created that culture in the times of austerity, right? Even when uncertain times come, like you run your team as if you are always at the war front. Even when the real war comes, it's easy for you to just adapt. So lastly, that last point is very important, especially when you begin to get prominence, recognition. We organized an event, we had a minister around, and people will begin to make you believe that you are the next best thing after toast bread. Don't believe it, because that will drive you into investing into things that are not important. And when the real crisis comes, your crash will be very significant. So you see all of these startups shutting down stories. It's because most of these startups have created this kind of larger than. You should still start thinking as if you don't have that $10 million. So employ the guys that are very crucial to your process. You can increase your team to remuneration, but you don't need to have an entire building like this with all the floors, having HR in one entire floor. What is crucial to your business? And if your essential team is just 13 people, keep it at 13. It's as simple as that. At the end of the day, when challenging times come, these 13 people will be able to maneuver faster than 130 people. That's it.
Just on the basis of like equity, so I also want to assume that beyond just being founders, there are people here that are like collaborators or contributors in terms of like building, but you are not the person with the idea. Yeah. I think that one thing that a lot of people struggle with is that the one thing that you mentioned, they feel like they are bigger than life. Yeah, or they don't even understand, they don't know their worth and their value. Yeah, so I'm going to give an example on these two instances. So one of the things is with the Gen Z. So me, I'm in between Gen Z and the other one. What's that name? I don't care about these things. I feel like they are fitting people into boxes. But my point is, you hear conversations, because I've been opportune to like get into conversations with people like, man, I can have a few minutes of your time, and I hear them say, so there was one that happened last week and they sat down. So she told me that she's working with them as an intern, but apparently she actually happened to be the only person in the team. So the employee team, so one thing I noticed that she started talking about numbers, and she was like, oh, one day, because I thought I was an intern, they said they were going to pay me 100,000, and now I'm the only one doing the job, spread across a lot of things, and they still pay me 100,000. Yeah, that's it. Wow. But I mean, you're there, you're an intern, and beyond what they always currently what they do think is that if I'm working, if I'm doing more work, I deserve more money. But the money doesn't fall from the sky, right? And it's not going to, like, you don't plant it and then you just go and block it and pay people. Yeah, the money comes from somewhere. So let's say on the basis at which you were employed, which was flawed, by lying to you that you are going to be an intern. Now you are there. People then sort of like kill the first principle at which you should operate in, offering value. Yeah. Now there are various variations of how you can leverage from where you were. When I started working, my first actual job was with Life Bank. At the point they told me that the work I do, that their 4-year-old child could do the same thing. Yeah, and she posted it in the group, and I thought that she thought that it was a bad thing. She deleted it, but she copied it and pasted it in our private chat. So yeah, but regardless of how badly I was treated, at the core of what I wanted was to like grow, yeah, as a person. Now you can do a lot of these things from passion projects and other variations here, but you don't learn except you get your hands dirty. Now, because they messed with you and giving you like a flawed offer, which is like internship, but you're actually the person doing the whole job, I will take it, yeah, as opposed to how people think today by going. I don't know who they meet to ask for valuations on what they actually want in terms of earning, but I want to say that there are levels at which you can walk into a room to negotiate. One of them is at the point at which you are being employed. Yeah, you are seeing your offer, you think that it's not right, renegotiate. But if you've been employed, I'm not yet sure if I'm giving you the 100K that I'm going to pay you is worth it. You now think that we should go to 200K. So if you've passed the first stage of like wanting to be employed and wanting to renegotiate from the point of being offered a rate, the next time you should ask for a review is when you have another option. Yeah, if you don't have another option, you are putting yourself in harm's way, right? You will eventually be sacked, yeah. And then the mental health that you are trying to protect will now still like spoil. Alright, so one thing you need to do is to never see yourself beyond your current level, because it goes into negotiating as well. You want to be able to convert in a way where it can be replicated. Yeah, if your value is $30 per hour
don't think that because men are or Chris says that they charge $70 or $100, you don't want to say you are 50. People will turn you down a lot. So you want to know that you should stay within your confines of competence. Then the second thing is that you should also be confident enough to walk into a room and negotiate.